I've got some really simple ingredients I'm going to make into a fantastic beef and caramelised onion phyllo pie. We've got 4 onions here. We've just had them cooking down nice and slowly for about 20 minutes now on a low heat. And I've just turned them up just to give it a colour onto them. Our mince, half a kilo of premium beef mince. We just break that up just to start the cooking process. We can get more of the surface area onto the pan. We'll get a better caramelisation onto the meat, and we'll end up with a better product at the end. Just got to nice and finely chop this thyme. Not worry too much about the stalks. You know, as long as they're not the woody stalks, they're pretty edible, so it won't cause any problems. Plus, we're going to cook it out for a little bit. Thyme goes in. 1 bay leaf, fresh bay leaf. Dried bay leaf is fine as well. So as soon as this meat starts to cook through, we've got 2 tablespoons of flour. We're just going to sprinkle this over. It is important to cook this meat till it's almost done. A little bit under is okay, but if you put the flour in too early, it'll end up a bit stodgy at the end. And just sprinkle the flour over. Stir that through. We'll get heat up a little bit, and we just want to cook that for a minute or 2. It'll just suck up all the juices that are floating about, and then we need to cook that flour out just a little bit so it doesn't taste floury at the end. So I can see that flour starting to cook out, it's sticking a little bit on the bottom. So as soon as that starts to happen, 1 cup of red wine. Get that heat right up, and that liquid is just going to lift all that caramelised flour off the bottom, and what's going to happen is that flour will start to thicken up and will make like a pseudo gravy. Now, 1 cup of, we're using Campbell's. Campbell's is a very good product. You don't have to be too accurate with the measurements, as you can tell, because as we cook this down, we can wait for it to get to the right consistency. If we've added a little bit too much, we'll just cook it for a little bit longer. Heat's still on nice and high, and you can see already that it's really starting to thicken up. You can see the consistency is a bit like gravy now. We're going to give it a season. You don't want to season this too early. You know, if you put too much salt in at the start and you reduce it down, it might end up a little bit too salty. A bit of pepper, as much as you like. I always like to give it a little taste, just so I've got the opportunity to adjust the seasoning now. Pretty good. A little bit more salt though. So we're going to let this cool down now, and then we're going to get on to making our phyllo pie. So we've got here a packet of phyllo pastry, springform cake tin, some melted butter. Now you don't have to use a springform. If you've got a cake tin, that'll be fine, or any pie mold will do the job as well. We're going to start by greasing the cake tin. This will just stop the pastry from sticking to it, make it a bit easier later on when we need to get the pie out of the cake tin. Brush phyllo pastry with a good bit of butter. Don't be shy on the butter here. It really does add a good element of flavour, and butter's not that bad for you. Now we're going to crisscross this over. So the first one goes in this way, the next one will go in the opposite direction. So always alternating direction, never in the same direction, and make sure it's coming out the edges of the pastry tin. So this is our 10th sheet phyllo pastry. Maybe a little overkill. If you don't want to use 10, you can probably get away with 8. But you do need a good solid base to hold everything in place. So onto our beef and onion mixture. Straight in the middle, we're going to build it up nice and high. And then keep it nice and rustic. We're just going to fold these over. give ourselves the top of our pie. And this is going to provide us with a really nice crispy crunch on top. And we'll just finish it with a little bit more butter. And into the oven we go. So our pie has been in the oven for about 45 minutes now. It's got a nice golden crust on there, nice and crunchy. Now, excuse my hands, it's a little bit hot. Moment of truth. So we've got a lovely crust on it, nice crispy exterior, and should be beautiful and moist in the middle. So we're going to serve this with a lovely rocket and parmesan salad, and those flavours, nice and rich, go lovely with a cab salad. That's what I'd have any meat pie with.